Okay, this is going to be a video. It's the day 2 lesson for Algebra 2. We're going to be talking about equations, a little bit of inequalities today. So a couple things I want to review when it says solve. What we want to do is we want to isolate the variable. Okay, now what you want to do is if you want to move variables from one side to the other, if you got variables on opposite sides like I do in this case, all right, I want to subtract the 5x, all right? Then I got 4x minus 17 equals 32. Add 17, okay? It's going to be 49, yeah, equals 4x divided by 4. I don't think anything goes into that, so it's going to be 49 over 4, okay? Now, when you have variables on the same side, I want to combine these. So these, 8 plus 2 would be 10. So I got 10x, and I want to combine those like terms. Negative 4 minus 16 would be negative 20. And then I want to solve it. Add 20. Add 20, so that's 10x equals 120. Divide by 10. X is 12. Okay? So, when we have things on opposite sides, we do opposite operations. When we have same, we use the signs they have, use the signs, and combine. Okay? Don't put in any extra. Okay? Negative 4 minus 16. It's not negative 4 minus negative 16. Okay? All right? Use the ones you have. Okay? Now, if you ever get these ratio deals, what you have to do is you have to cross multiply this. So what this turns into is you got to multiply 3 times both of those. You got to multiply 4 times both of those. Okay? So that's 8x plus 20. That's 15x minus 3. Okay? All right? You can move either one. Doesn't matter. Let's say I move this 8x. That's 7x minus 3 equals 20. Add 3. 23 equals 7x. Divide by 7. That's going to be 23 over 7. Okay, because nothing goes into 7 and 23. Okay? So cross multiply that. 8x plus 6. 6x minus 4. Okay, so that's going to be 32x plus 24. 30x minus 20. Subtract 30. So that's 2x plus 24 equals negative 20. Subtract 24. That's going to be negative 44. 2x divided by 2. X equals negative 22. Okay? All right, so that's the ratios. You got to make sure you multiply by both terms there. Okay? So go ahead and pause your video and try those. Okay, now we're going to talk about inequalities. Okay, now, here's the only thing you got to watch out for with inequalities. If you divide by a negative number, you got to flip the inequality. We'll get into that in a second. Okay? Also, we're going to solve and graph these. Okay? Very simple. It eats the variable, shade right. Don't get into the arrow thing. That gets you confused. Okay? Also, here's the other thing you got to know. This and this produce open circles. This and this produce closed circles. Okay? So on this one, subtract 10x. I got 8x minus 12, less than 15. Or less than 5, sorry. Add 12. That's 8x is less than 17. Divide by 8. X is less than 17 over 8. So when I go to graph this, this is an open circle. Since it's eating the number, I'm going to shade to the left. Okay? All right. Now, on this one, I'm going to combine these. That's going to give me negative 10x. Okay? Subtract 8. Got negative 10x, less than or equal to 20. Divide by negative 10. Now, since I divide by negative, I got to flip that around. Okay? So what I got here, closed circle. Okay? I'm going to shade to the right because it's eating the x. Okay? All right, it's eating the x. All right? So you guys go ahead and practice those two on your own. Okay? Now, what we're going to talk about next, we're going to talk about absolute value. Okay? All right? The concept of absolute value is if I put this in here, whatever number I want to put in, okay, whatever number that is, the idea is absolute value represents distance, okay? So, great example of this, when you go from home to school, you might travel 5 miles. When you return home, you don't say, I went -5 miles. You talk about 5 miles. You went absolute value. You went a distance. So here's what some people think that absolute value just makes numbers positive. Okay, it's a little bit more than that. So the idea is, what can I put in here, okay, that would give me 8? Well, I can put 8, and I can have -8, okay? So what happens there is that means that you could have 2 possibilities. Now here's how the process works. What we do is we isolate the absolute value, okay? And then we're going to split, okay? Where one equals the positive number and the other equals a negative times that number. Okay, and we'll get into that with distributing in the next lesson, okay? All right, and how that, we just want to touch on absolute value today, okay? So this is already isolated. So what I do is I do 2x plus 5 equals 7. 2x plus 5 equals -7. I solve these. 2x equals 2, x equals 1. Because if I put 1 in there, 2 times 1 is 2 plus 5 is 7. Great. Subtract 5. 2x equals -12. Divide by 2. I got x equals -6. If I put -6 in there, 2 times -6 would be -12 plus 5 would be -7. Absolute value makes that positive, so I'm going to make that positive sign. So that's so both these answers work. Now what you have to do on this one, I got to get this away and this away. I got to move this 5 first. So that'd be 24. Okay, then I'm going to divide by 3. That's absolute value of 2x equals 8. So I got two equations. Equals 8 equals -8. This one I add 2, that's x equals 10. This one I add 2, I get x equals -6 again. Okay? Once again, if I put those in there, 10 minus 2 would be 8. 3 times 8, 24, minus 5, 19. Put -6 in there, -6 minus 2 would be -8, makes that +8. Okay? All right? So let's do one more here. Okay? So I would subtract 6. Okay? So that's -x plus 7 equals 14. Now this is like a -1, so I got to divide out that -1 there. So absolute value of 8x plus 7 equals -14. So I'm going to split this into 2. 8x plus 7 equals -14. 8x plus 7 equals 14. Okay? So negative times that. All right? We're going to solve both of those. All right? Okay? Now, here is the problem in this case. All right? Here's the problem. The problem is, can an absolute value ever equal a negative number? Okay? Because I can solve these. X equals -21 over 8. And I can put that back in here. -21 times -21/8 would be -21. -21 plus 7. All right, it's -14. Absolute value of -14 is 14. I need that to equal -14. So that doesn't work. Subtract 7, I get 8x equals 7. Divide by 8, I get x equals 7/8. Same thing. Put 7/8 in there. 8 times 7 would be 7. Plus 7 would be 14. Absolute value of 14 is 14. Can that equal -14? That answer is no. Okay? So this one here is actually a no solution. Okay? It won't work in those originals either. Okay? Because if I put 7/8 into there, all right, that's going to be 7 plus 7. Okay? Well, that's going to be negative with a 14. So that's going to be -14 because that negative gets attached. Plus 6 is -8. It does not give you my answer. Okay? So you got to be careful with those. Okay? So when you look at this, okay, what you have to understand is your isolation has to equal a positive number. Okay? All right? Has to equal a positive number. So what you're going to do, all right, is you're going to go ahead and work on those. Don't assume that since this is a negative, that's going to be wrong. You sort of have to see how the math plays out. Okay? All right, you got to see how the math plays out. If you get isolated here, okay, all right, with an equation, can it ever equal a negative number? And the answer is no. When we get to inequalities, could be a little bit different, okay, because you can have something less than, okay, so you gotta sort of watch that.